Getting myself organized here. You know, I was going to introduce everybody at the end, but I think I should do that in the beginning so you guys have that for your records. So Gabriel Taylor-Marsh is our home improvement specialist at the Consumer Assistance Program. Crystal Baldwin is, I don't even know your title, but she's been at the Consumer Assistance Program for like 17 years or something. Okay, so she's an expert for sure. Chris Curtis is the director of the Consumer Assistance Program, my old boss. Now I'm his boss. So Izzy Gogardi is our small business advocate. And then we're so grateful to have the AARP here. Greg Marshallden and Laura McDonough, I don't need to look that up, are here from AARP. And we are here, of course, to talk about scams. Every year, we like to inform Vermonters about what the top scams were for the year before, the scams that we heard about the most in our office. The Consumer Assistance Program receives scam reports that helps us help folks who have been scammed, but it also helps us know how to inform Vermonters of what scams are hot right now so that we can all protect ourselves in preventing scams from actually being effective and taking place. So, without further ado, I know you're dying to find out what the number one scam most reported to our office was in 2025. It was once again the tech support computer scam. That is a scam I always talk about because it's definitely a scam I think I might be susceptible to falling for. What that scam looks like is you might receive a pop-up on your computer saying, oh no, you have a virus or something like that to alarm you and get your emotions to spike. Don't worry, the scammer will tell you, I can take care of that for you. I'm Norton. They'll give you a business you've heard of that you trust, and then they will try to convince you to allow them to remotely access your computer. And once they're in, it's over and they can access anything on your computer. So the reason why this is number one is it's very effective. Scammers are just trying to steal your money. So they're going to use the scam that is most effective at stealing your money. This one is very effective. That's why we want to talk about it. Remind folks to use all the safe practices you can when it comes to the computer viruses that might pop up. You want to independently find that company yourself, find their phone number or contact them if you have a local computer store in your town that can service your computer. Better to do that than trust some random pop-up or some random person emails you or contacts you some other way telling you have a virus. So that's the number one scam this year. The number two scam is actually very interesting because it's new to our top 10 list and it catapulted to number two. When I tell you the scam, you're going to remember, oh yeah, I got that. I did many, many times over. This is debt collection scams, and the scam that was making a sweep, especially last summer when we were all traveling to Maine, as Vermonters do, was the toll collection scam. Did you guys all get that? I definitely got that many times. It actually spiked in March of last year, and scammers are sending text messages telling travelers, oh, you didn't pay this toll, you owe money, click here to do that. And just always, again, making sure that you are independently verifying that something is legitimate, especially something casual like a text. How do they even have your phone number, you might ask yourself. So making sure that you're protecting yourselves. And, it always is kind of a bummer to tell people you have to be suspicious, but truly you do have to be suspicious of people contacting you and asking you for money. That's the world that we live in. And we're here to try to help you protect yourself from those scams. The other new one that is new to our list, although it's really just a variation of an imposter scams being very effective because when you develop a trust of someone, you're more likely to give them money if you think there's someone they're not who you trust. The government imposter scams were very popular, but we saw a spike with the DMV tickets, similar to the toll booth collection, the toll collection scam was the DMV ticket scam. That spiked in June. I also got that one, but luckily I've listened to myself give these talks enough that I was able to protect myself from falling for it. This one is a scam where the DMV supposedly is telling you that your registration has expired or some other, government, renewal that needs to take place that you have somehow neglected to renew, and they are trying to get you to pay some sort of outstanding fine. Again, The DMV here in Vermont is here to support you, easy to find, and you can always contact our Consumer Assistance Program for questions or support to say, I got this, seemed fishy, thought I would check with you. We kind of live for this, so we welcome your calls. We like to help. It's a free service every time you call the Consumer Assistance Program, so I would encourage everyone to remember that. The other scam I wanted to highlight for everybody today is in November, there was a spike in SNAP recipient scams. We here in Vermont call SNAP, which is a federal program. We call it 3 Squares Vermont. 3 Squares VT, actually, I think is how we write it. Sometimes this is known as food stamps. And this was a particularly, I would say, gross scam, and that it literally targeted people who already are struggling with financial insecurity. And that was a scam that was trying to make hay from the chaos in Washington regarding SNAP. So that was another one of the scams that we encountered this year. And I would say that the other scams are largely scams we've heard about before. So the other scams that we heard about this year were very similar to the year before. These scams included identity theft, the relationship imposter scams, that could be like the romance scam or the grandparent scam, the law enforcement imposter scam, a sheriff is supposedly coming to arrest you, the bank and financial institution phishing scam, the Medicare card phishing scam, and then online listings like Craigslist scams are very popular, and the sweepstakes scams is also very popular. And we have on our press release, there will be attached a lot more information about how to protect yourself from each of those scams and kind of what they look like. We will also include, we have a couple of appealing pie charts. We didn't blow them up this year, and I'm kind of regretting that because they look so pretty. You can see that the largest of our pie is the computer tech support scam, and look how much bigger it is than number 2. I mean, it's just very, very effective scam, unfortunately. So we'll send that with you as well. But a couple of things I wanted to highlight about the scams, generally speaking. We always try to remind folks of these scams when they're thinking about scams. The first is that imposter scams are very effective. If you look at our top 10 lists, you will often see a relationship imposter, the business for small businesses, things that Izzy deals with. Small business scams are often imposter scams, or someone's trying to pretend that there's someone else from your company, like the business office trying to tell you to wire money to someone. The romance scam, the sheriff scam, all these scams that are trying to pretend to be someone they're not. They're effective because you've been tricked into trusting this person. So one thing that we always tell people is slow down. Slow down, take a breath, verify, is this someone you can trust? Is this person who they say they are? Remember that when your emotions are spiked, if you're excited because you think you won the lottery, if you're scared because the sheriff is coming to arrest you, all of these things you're getting in your feels and you're not getting in your head. That is a good time to phone a friend. The Consumer Assistance Program is such a friend. You can always call us, 1-800-649-2424. You can contact us for support, even if it's just this seems kind of scammy. What do you think? We're happy to talk that through with you. You can call another friend and say, I just reality check, like what's happening here. So those are some tools you can use to protect yourself. Don't engage with scammers. It's very tempting. We don't want them to remember your phone number, that you answer the call, that you're a feisty person who will engage with them. Doesn't matter. They're going to say, oh, this person doesn't ignore these calls. Someday I'm going to get them. So don't engage with scammers. I want to just close by saying a little bit, and then I want to turn it over to our friends from the AARP. I want to talk a little bit about the Consumer Assistance Program. The Consumer Assistance Program is a program that is a partnership between UVM and my office. It's literally located at UVM. It is students who take a class every semester called Consumer Law in Action, and that class teaches them to be like little consumer advocates, lieutenants that go out into the world and help people who have consumer issues, including scams. And sometimes when you call the Consumer Assistance Program for help, it is literally a college student who will be helping with this team you through the problem that you're having. So really, really proud of that work and of all the folks who are standing here today who make that program a reality. And also, I mean, after 40 plus years, imagine all the students that we have sent out into the world who are doing good things, some of whom come back to us and work for us at the Consumer Assistance Program. So it's really wonderful. And with that, I will turn it over to Greg. Thanks for being here, Greg.
Clark. First, I do want to thank the Attorney General. She has been on top of this issue ever since she was elected. We've worked really closely with her office, and the fact that she continues to push stuff out publicly all the time is really the only solution to the problem, which is to create as much awareness as possible. And I want to thank Chris and his team. Chris, we've worked with these people for a long time, and it's a strong partnership that we're really proud of. This is obviously a huge issue for AARP. Older Vermonters tend to be targeted for scams and fraud more than younger folks. They grew up at a time when these sorts of things just didn't happen, and when your phone rang, you usually just would think that it was your relative or your friend, and not someone trying to steal your life savings. I want to talk just quickly about a couple things. We have a dozen dedicated fraud fighter volunteers who go around the state and give in-person seminars to folks in church basements and in libraries and in small restaurants. We did more than, I think we talked to Laura, more than 2,000 Vermonters last year just on the ground. And we complement that work a lot with a lot of attention on this in social media, and lots of ways to push this information out in similar to what the Attorney General and her team do. Staying informed is really important. We have a couple things that people can do. You can join the AARP Fraud Watch Network. You do not have to be an AARP member to join, but if you join, that provides scam alerts. And we also have a hyperactive heat map on that site as well. So you can you can click Vermont and you can see what's happening more in real time. So when we get calls, we always tell people to call the Consumer Assistance Program because they are the ones that need to have this stuff at the sort of the point of attack. But we try to do our very best. We've seen a lot of like hyper local scams, things in like the electric and the utility world, which are like, this is happening in Rutland, but no place else. So if you sign up to join us in the Fraud Watch Network, we do our very best to make sure that Vermonters can be quickly educated if they think of something is going on. Just a couple more things. It's a lot what General Clark said. Look, if it seems too good to be true, it most certainly is just about every single time. And to understand these scammers and these criminals, they are very, very good at what they do, or they wouldn't keep doing it. And we wouldn't see losses in the tens of billions of dollars every single year. So for a family that's an AARP member, maybe living on a fixed income and nothing else with a small amount of savings, taking any kind of hit here can be not only incredibly detrimental to their own lives, but to their sons and daughters and cousins and their own communities. This is a crime that doesn't just affect the individual, it affects people all around them. So we have to be really, really, really vigilant. And the best way to do that is events like this, and for the media to join us in helping Vermonters understand what to look for and what to look out for. There is no way we can arrest our way out of this crime. There is no way we can just sort of huddle up and pray that it will go away. But we can do events like this. We can get out into the community. We can talk to people. And when General Clark and her team speak, it's important we figure out ways to get those messages to the public, because this is a devastating crime and it is only getting worse and worse. We're really proud of the work that we're doing here on the ground, proud of our partnership with the Attorney General, and we're just going to stay at it because that's really the only thing we can do. I want to thank you so much for inviting me today, and we look forward to working with you again this year.
Yeah, my pleasure. Laura, did you have anything to add? No? All right, we are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do you have, whether it's an estimate or a firm number, do you have a sense of how serious the financial hit to Vermonters is? How many hundreds of thousands of dollars were stolen from Vermonters? Do you have a sense?
I mean, we know that nationally, as Greg said, it's in the millions. Here, it's so underreported too. A lot of these, I mean, here's something. We hear repeatedly when we talk to someone who has been scammed, who is a victim of scam, who has lost money. We hear, it's so obvious to me now. How could I have done this? There's a sense of embarrassment when someone falls for a scam. Of course, we see this all the time, so we always reassure people, this could happen to any of us. Lawyers, doctors, very intelligent people, college professors, we've talked to them all. This can happen to literally anyone. Definitely call the office and see if there's anything we can do to help you if that happens. I don't have a firm. I'm reluctant to wade in. We might be able to get more information. I don't know.
Well, there's no single point of contact for people to call. So some people might call the U.S. Attorney's Office, some people might call their local sheriff, some people might call Consumer Assistance Program, some people might report it to federal law enforcement authorities. So we don't have a single point of reference to be able to collect all of that data. Obviously, we have a slice of that information. We can always run a report that says, how many scam with loss was there. We know it's in the millions of dollars in Vermont. I mean, it really is significant, especially when you start getting into cryptocurrencies, other things that can be stolen or transferred against somebody's will. So these criminal syndicates are large, they're sophisticated, it's happening every day, and it's a huge detriment to our citizens.
You mentioned a couple scams that seemed very hyper local or very relevant to what was happened nationally. Is it a good tip for people if they see, something that's making particularly big headlines in the news, and then they get a text randomly all of a sudden like, oh, we need your PIN for your Snap card or something?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think the thing to always remember is that scammers are looking to steal your money. They're going to do whatever they can to steal your money. They're not moral people, they're criminals. So they're not following any rules other than I want to get this person's money. So if there's an opportunity that presents itself because there's chaos in the news or a natural disaster or whatever it may be, they're going to leverage that opportunity to just steal your money. They're criminals. So you're right. If there is something happening that might be a foothold to a scammer, to be more vigilant about being aware that scammers are out there and they're looking to steal your money.
While you're here with your friends from AARP, I've heard anecdotally that it's actually younger people who make up the largest
I became a
segment.
member before I was 50, even though I was very reluctant because I was at a scam jam with Greg, and one of the staffers who's there she's under 30 at the time, and she was like, I'm a member of AARP, and I was like, okay, it's fine. I'll just pretend that I too am under 30, but you're right. You can have Greg say some things.
Old ladies are getting scammed, but it's younger people too.
There's no question. It really is across the board. But research has shown that repeat folks that get scammed once are often scammed again and again and again, and that group of people tend to be in the older cohort as opposed to the younger cohort. These criminals have blacklists, right? So they're very valuable. So if I get information on Mrs. Smith from Ludlow and she falls for $1,000 tech support scam, that's very valuable information for a criminal to be able to sell to other criminals. And you see a scamming and a rescamming because, as General Clark said, there's a level of embarrassment, there's a level of shame, there's a level of what do I do about this? And when you find yourself getting into that sort of zone about, well, how do I fix that? Well, somebody calls up and says, you've just won $25,000. All you got to do is send us $2,100 for the taxes to get your money back. Then you're figuring you're recovering your losses and you're moving forward. So it's a vicious cycle. And I did not mean to say that 20-year-olds don't get scammed. They do. But older folks tend to, when they get scammed the first time, tend to be very high targets for that same crime to happen to them again and again.
And some AARP numbers have shown that even though all ages can get scammed, younger people tend to maybe get scammed more frequently, but the older people tend to get scammed out of more money.
Yeah, young people
So
don't
it's
have
a
any
higher
money.
amount of money.
Something that we haven't touched on that I think is always worth mentioning is what kind of money is being given to scammers, right? They're not getting like a check. They're not often like getting a credit card, although we definitely see credit card scams, but there's so many consumer protections baked into credit cards. So credit cards are a great way to pay for things because there are so many laws that protect consumers when it comes to credit cards. So scammers want something like cryptocurrency, which is just like cash. Gift cards, the gift cards that it's not like to Bed Bath & Beyond or something, it's to, I just dated myself and I better restate that with like a solving company. It's not like a gift card to like Home Depot, we'll say. It's like Visa gift card, and who asked? What legitimate person is like, you owe me money for a fine, send a gift card? No, that's not how it works. So you've got to have your guard on. Gift cards are for gifts. We jokingly say we're going to print a mug that says that at the Consumer Assistance Program. Gift cards are for gifts. If it isn't a gift, it's a scam. So you can be on your guard there. So just a reminder about how someone is wanting you to pay for something can be a little sketchy, and you definitely should have your radar going up, and then feel free to call the Consumer Assistance Program for help.
Also, I just want to add one thing. In a small sort of rural state like ours, where we have a lot of people living in rural communities and older people living by themselves, isolation is a huge factor here. So a scammer can really endear themselves to someone who's living by themselves, may not see family or friends for a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe even a month. So this invites it invites an element of criminal who understands that isolation is very powerful and a very powerful tool that they can use to get to people's life savings.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you so much for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
2, 3. Thank you.
Thanks, Amelia.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming. This was great.
Yeah, very easy. Yeah.
So, Chris,